Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of What the FinTech, the podcast from the team behind FinTech Futures and the Banking Technology magazine. My name is Paul Hindle, editor of FinTech Futures, and for this episode we're joined by Ruwani Hewa, director of payments at Starling Bank. Ruwani, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me as well.
Excellent. It's great to have you here. And just to get started, would you like to quickly let us know a bit more about yourself and your role at Starling then?
Sure. I'm Ruwani Hewa, Director of Payments at Starling Bank. So I joined the bank back in September 29, so technically October. And I am responsible essentially for the run, build and grow agenda at Starling Bank. So that is essentially operational resilience, launching new products for our retail and business bank, and also commercializing Starling Banking Services.
Excellent. Sounds great. And again, great to have you here. And thanks so much for taking the time out to speak with us today. So on the show this week, we'll be diving into the world of embedded finance and how Starling is tapping into the huge potential of the sector through its Starling Banking Services unit. In particular, we'll explore how Starling Banking Services fits into the broader embedded finance ecosystem, how the company has approached developing and maintaining its in-house tech infrastructure, and the key priorities for the business over the next year. And we'll also take a look at the trends shaping the future of banking as a service and embedded finance more generally, and the technologies having the biggest impact on the industries right now. So to start off, Ruwani, you mentioned there you joined Starling Bank in September last year. How have the first few months been? How have you looked to approach your start in the role there?
Well, firstly, it's a massive privilege to join a bank I've always admired, and just taking in all of my payments experience into this role has been super exciting. However, I think the most interesting area I'd like to resurface is essentially the hidden gem of Starling Banking Services, or SBS. And that's where I'm really excited about, and I'm really excited to talk about it today as well.
Excellent. Sounds great. And I guess to get started there then, can you give us an overview of what Starling Banking Services does then?
Sure. So essentially, we are the regulated infrastructure powering UK fintechs. So some of our key clients include Moneybox, SumUp, and Currency Cloud. So we are the safe pair of hands powering regulated fintechs in the UK. So as you mentioned before, we are like an embedded payments partner. So these clients can embed things like accounts, faster payments, and BaaS into their propositions. So to bring this to real life, if you're a Moneybox customer, when you top up your account, that's actually an account that is powered and safeguarded by Starling in the background using our tech and infrastructure.
Excellent. And I guess on the tech and infrastructure side, is all of the Starling Bank Services tech managed in-house? How do you go about developing and maintaining that?
Yeah, exactly. So 100% of our tech and infrastructure is homegrown, which we're proud to say. And I think it's a testament to Starling and our engineering team and our technology. It's essentially where we can open up this infrastructure to help other UK businesses, regulated businesses, to help their propositions and be good with money as our brand is. So it's essentially helping these businesses get to market quicker with payments. Now, not all businesses have a payments as their core proposition, but obviously you do need payments in financial services. So we essentially have a safeguarding role to safeguard their customers' money and also provide access to UK payment systems via a really nimble API. So it enables them to get to market a lot quicker.
Excellent. Yeah, on that front, how crucial is it for modern businesses these days to have access to real-time payments infrastructure, especially when it comes to meeting customer expectations these days around payments?
Yeah, it's a great question. I really like the fact that you've mentioned customer. I think sometimes we're a bit guilty in the payments industry and the banking industry of being in our own echo chamber and just talking about payments and B2B. And yeah, for sure, Starling Banking Services, our customers are B2B, but essentially, if you kind of think about it, it's B2B2B or B2B2C, and it's that end B or C that we really need to think about. So how are we improving their lives or enabling frictionless payment experiences to help our customers? And that's what Starling can do. And you mentioned instant payments or real-time payments. It's quite a key thing in the industry, and that's how we can really help facilitate bringing to life certain propositions. One of the key things, which I found quite surprising actually, is insurance payouts. So we've been speaking to quite a few insurance companies, legacy and new ones, so new insurtech companies who want to enable quicker payouts to their customers. But if you kind of think about it, a customer that's doing an insurance payout, a claim, is someone that is in need. So they don't want to receive a check or a BaaS 3-day payment. They need that payment instantly. And that's something that we can power and something that I'm super excited about to actually help the insurance industry. Other use cases as well include instant payroll. So I think everyone's quite aware payroll traditionally is on a BaaS 3-day cycle. And that does work sometimes with traditional monthly jobs. However, there's a shift in how employees actually work. So there's actually shift working in large Amazon factories or other hospitality jobs where they can't rely on a monthly payment. And due to the cost of living crisis, people are living paycheck to paycheck. So we can also power instant payroll using faster payments as well.
Excellent. Sounds great. I guess, what challenges do businesses face when it comes to accessing UK payment schemes, and how does Starling Banking Services streamline that process?
Sure. So to access faster payments, you need to be a direct participant to the faster payment scheme or direct participant to the BaaS scheme to initiate BaaS transfers as well. And it's actually quite complex. So the infrastructure it's a higher barrier to entry from a technology perspective. There's also quite high capital requirements to keep with the Bank of England to be a direct participant for faster payments. So what we do, and essentially the traditional name is called sponsor banking, is we sponsor other regulated entities to use our direct access into these schemes. So we've connected, obviously, as a bank directly into these schemes, and we've got all the capital requirements required. And what our clients do, these regulated entities, is they connect to us using our beautiful, nimble APIs. And because we work with regulated entities, we have to do a proper due diligence on them as we would with any of our customers. So that requires AML, KYC checks. And to be honest, that's probably the part where it takes a bit long, so about 2 to 3 months. But once that is actually done and you're fully onboarded, you can actually connect using our APIs within 2 weeks. So get access to faster payments for instant payments that quickly.
Excellent. What are some of the standout use cases, I guess, from some of the companies that you've partnered with then as well?
Yeah, so I mentioned Moneybox. So the account that is in the Moneybox account, so on your app, that's actually powered by Starling. So that's where these accounts can have addressable sort code and account numbers or be virtual accounts depending on a proposition. So I really feel like with embedded finance and embedded payments, customers want the ability to see all their financial data, like payments in, payments out, within and embedded within financial platforms. So as I mentioned, Moneybox, the other use cases could be like marketplaces. So you're a seller, you log into your account, you can see all your payments in, payments outgoing as well, embedded within that platform. So we can provide that embedded experience with our accounts. So using our APIs and obviously the payments in, payments out as well within that account.
Excellent. I guess looking at payments more broadly then, which technologies are having the biggest impact, would you say, on payments right now? Are there any specific technologies or innovations that Starling is looking at investing in as well?
Yeah, so interestingly, I think obviously the biggest buzzword these days is open banking or variable recurring payments, which is something that we have a close eye on. But interestingly, it's also looking at how we can help businesses access more traditional payment methods. So any file-based payment methods, which a lot of the nimble fintechs don't want to create files, right? So because we are direct members of the BaaS scheme, we have to submit files into the scheme. However, how can we make that more accessible? I know we talk about faster payments and open banking quite a lot, but we also can't ignore the traditional payment methods that actually power billions through the UK economy. How can we make that more accessible to fintechs who are lost lower costs and faster payments because it actually suits and fits their use case?
The PayTech Award nomination deadline has been extended, now to the 27th of March. That's right, more time to show off your payment prowess. But don't let this chance slip away. To get involved, simply search PayTech Awards and get started.
And how would you say Starling Banking Services fits into the broader embedded finance ecosystem, and how does it align with the bank's broader mission and growth plans?
So our mission is good with money and pioneering for enterprising people. And we would think that we would love to apply that, and we actually do apply that to other fintechs as well, so UK fintechs. We've been there, right? So Starling was a fintech, and we've been on this journey to become a very successful and trusted bank. And we would like to help other UK fintechs be good with money and also help other customers. It's also enabling those fintechs to access these payment methods in a shorter period of time, so then they don't have to go through a high barrier entry to access these payments.
And what would the biggest challenges be, I guess, in terms of scaling Starling Banking Services then, and what opportunities excite you the most there?
I think with scale, with anything from a banking perspective, we need to keep an eye on the regulation, which keeps changing. However, regulation can also be used to adapt your propositions and really help other fintechs. So we do have an oversight role, an assurance role, but even every time that there's a new regulation or a new payment product coming into the market, I always think about, well, how can we help other fintechs access this and look at the different pain points we can solve for their customers as well. At the moment, we are just focused on the UK, but I really do think there's a lot of opportunity in the UK with a lot of fintechs starting up and growing and scaling here.
Excellent. Touched on regulation there, just briefly. I mean, how do you see the regulatory environment shaping the future of banking as a service and embedded financing?
So it really does depend on the type of products that we're taking to market. So we obviously provide access to payments and also embedded accounts. And I don't think people are quite aware there are different types of accounts which require different types of regulation. So we need to make sure that we have the right guardrails and compliance around those different accounts, but also understanding the different types of new payment methods that are coming to market, such as open banking, which has a different regulatory framework. So we can help regulated companies, navigate this very complex area of regulation and help them get to market quicker with our payment technology.
Excellent. I guess looking forward then, what are your priorities for Starling Banking Services in the next 12 months? Are there plans to expand, I guess, real-time payments capabilities to cross-border transactions as well, for example?
Yeah, so the next 12 months is really resurfacing Starling Banking Services, getting it out to the market that we are here and we're here to stay. Interestingly, a lot of our customers are actually long tenured customers as well. And that's the message I want everyone to realize, the market to realize. We are the safe pair of hands. We do power really big brand names in the UK. Average tenure of customers is actually 7 years, which I found out last month, which I was super excited about. So it just goes to show that our tech is proven and that we know our customers really well and they love to work with us. So that's probably the first thing, is really getting that brand there and showing our strength. Secondly is understanding what other different payment propositions I can bring to the market. So leveraging what we do on the retail bank or business bank and bringing that into SBS potentially as well. However, my first main focus is to make sure that everyone knows that we're here.
Excellent. And just to finish off then, looking at embedded finance more generally, what trends are you seeing there? How do you think that will shape the future of financial services?
So embedded finance has actually been around for a very, very long time. I think the first embedded finance use case was Amazon one-click payments, which was back, I think, in 2009. But I think people realize that, this one-click payment is quite frictionless. And I think that's the key thing we need to realize, is that what problem are we solving for that end customer? And that's essentially making payments seamless and frictionless. It was Amazon, it was Uber. Do we remember when Uber first came out? I can hail a cab and not have to have cash or whip out my card. It's those type of experiences, I think, that we really need to understand and expand more. Do we do it well as an industry, or can we do it better? 100%, I think so. Other interesting use cases is the growth of marketplaces, so bringing buyers and sellers together in a frictionless way and creating that ecosystem using accounts or payments. That's something that I'm super keen to develop. But also, as we've mentioned today, is how can instant payments actually help people and make their lives better and enable our customers be good with money as well? I think is a super exciting area as well.
Thanks again, Ruwani, for chatting with us today. To close out the podcast, we have our now infamous FinTech Jail. So this is where we ask for an industry term, buzzword or trend that you've seen or heard enough of, or of course you can advocate to free one of the previously incarcerated terms. So what would your selection be for that this week?
Okay, so I'm not trying to be controversial here because I love this product and I love what it can do to the UK payments industry, but I really despise the term open banking. Like I said, I love the product, but the name open banking just does not make sense from a consumer perspective. And again, I think sometimes within the payments and banking industry, we're in this echo chamber of, oh, this makes sense from a B2B perspective or a banking perspective, but does it make sense from a customer perspective? No. So if you're a customer and you want to make a payment and it says, oh, make a payment via open banking, I would be freaked out. I was like, what does this even mean? And I know the industry is playing with a few other different terms, such as pay by bank or bank on file, but it's still not customer friendly. And what is the trust mark of open banking? We still haven't figured this out. And that's the main reason why I don't like that term open banking. However, the technology and what it can bring to the UK payments industry is something I am excited about. I just don't like the term.
Excellent. I might be putting you on the spot here, but if you had to think of a new term for it, what would you go with?
It's a good question, actually. I don't know, because if you look around the world, a lot of the instant payment account-to-account or peer-to-peer payment networks don't really have a banking name. So you've got Pix in Brazil, you've got Blick in Poland, Bizum in Spain, and UPI in India. In Australia, we've got PayID, which is where I can pay using a mobile phone. So maybe we just need to get outside of our payments and banking bubble and just give it a cool, funky name. Actually, in Europe, we've got Wero as well, which I learned last week is actually We Are Euro, which is, I think, quite cool.
Nice.
So something along the lines that's quite catchy and customer friendly. It doesn't have to relate to payments necessarily, but it just needs to have some sort of brand thought around it.
Yeah, no, sounds good. And I guess on the topic of open banking, then we recently had the 8-year anniversary as well of open banking in the UK. I guess, how would you rate its impact over those 8 years and where do you think it goes next from here?
So I used to actually manage an open banking product in both the UK and Europe. From a UK perspective, I think it is a success in terms of how the industry got together with the OBIE essentially mandating a specific specification for the bank. So I will manage an open banking product as a TPP. So it was really easy to connect to all these UK banks, relatively easy, I would say. Whereas in Europe, I think there's a bit more way to go because there was no essentially an OBIE entity to make all the standards the same. And it was a bit of a struggle. There's like 4 or 5 different standards in Europe, which makes it really difficult to manage. I think under PSD3, there's talks about mandating the specification, doing uptime SLAs, making it quite seamless customer experience for the end customer. Those are the things I think are missing from a UK and European perspective. The other thing as well, I think we need to be mindful that open banking is not going to replace other payment methods. I think anyone that thinks that is a bit foolish. Apple Pay just works in certain use cases. However, open banking also really works on other use cases such as high-value transactions or where a merchant needs instant settlement. It's going to work alongside other payment methods. We talk about VRP all the time, replacing BaaS Direct Debit. BaaS Direct Debit is a trusted, reliable payment system, which customers actually know the trust mark of BaaS. And if you look at when Faster Payments was launched, it never replaced BaaS credit transfers or direct credit. So everything can work alongside each other depending on the specific use case and understanding the core customer need.
Sounds great. Well, yeah, I'm more than happy to add open banking to the jail this week then on the assumption that it's really just about the name as opposed to the technology itself. But
exactly. I don't want to have a soundbite to say, oh, Ruwani doesn't like open banking, but it's like I'm totally for the technology and what it brings from a payments perspective. I just do not like the name.
Excellent. Sounds good. And maybe the industry as a whole can brainstorm some ideas for the new name. I have seen Pay by Bank is picking up a bit of traction now for sure, but maybe we can get a cooler one like a Wero maybe from the UK as well.
Yeah.
But Ruwani, thank you so much again for joining us for the podcast today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thanks, of course, to Ruwani for joining me. As for FinTech Futures, you can find us online at fintechfutures.com, and be sure to follow us on LinkedIn to keep up with the latest fintech news. If you like this podcast and our other episodes, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favourite podcasting service to get notified about future episodes. Thanks as well to Arama for editing this podcast. You can check them out at arama.tv. As always, thank you very much for your support, and we'll see you soon for another episode of What the FinTech. But until then, goodbye.